Deion Sanders, the coach, and I always feel like I have to set up any mention of Deion Sanders. It's one of the most interesting, consistent, and predictable areas of blowback. I mostly say good things about Deion Sanders. I've been saying good things about Deion Sanders, the coach, for a long time. I've said that I thought his son was the best quarterback coming out last year. But no matter what, you mention Deion Sanders, and it's like a hot button. There's going to be a negative reaction no matter what. Either way, I don't care. Here goes. He's talking about and defending his son a lot, and I would say already. It's June, okay? It's June. Well, but it's his son. Yeah, hang on a second. His son is a pro football player in his 20s. He's not trying out for the local club soccer team. Got to be kidding me. Can you imagine? So it's June. Can you imagine what he is going to sound like by October? Can you imagine the noise he makes if and when Shedeur Sanders takes over the job in Cleveland? And by the way, I think he will. I think he will eventually. I think the only question with Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland, well, he's in Cleveland, so it can't end well. But the only question for Shedeur Sanders is when he takes that job over. But can you imagine? Because you know they're going to suck. I don't care if Shedeur Sanders was a mix of Tom Brady, Joe Montana, and you just go down the list. It doesn't matter. They suck. Everything will go wrong because it's Cleveland. But imagine when Shedeur Sanders, imagine when he doesn't even have the job. Look what's happened already, and it's June. But imagine if he has the job in Cleveland. He'll come to his defense every week because the Browns will struggle. And I do think Shedeur Sanders will be a very good pro. I've said that for a couple of years. I like all of his tools and his decision-making. He's a better version of Quinn Ewers, or Quinn Ewers is a poor version of Shedeur Sanders. In other words, they're not super athletic the way people like now. They're very pure passers. They're both fearless in passing. They read the game well. Shedeur Sanders is just much better at it. But the style is kind of similar. But one of the reasons, and some could argue, and I've made the point already, but one of the main reasons he dropped in the draft is that he is the issue of his dad. And his dad can make and does make a lot of noise. And we're in June, and it's mini camp in Cleveland. Deion Sanders, according to Yahoo Sports, has opened up about reports his son, Shedeur Sanders, went into pre-draft meetings unprepared. The coach and former NFL star who coached his son through college said he's hurt by the reports. Shedeur Sanders slid to the 5th round. Is he a 5th-round talent? No, he's not. He's not. He's much better than that. It doesn't matter now, but his dad's not going to let it go. And it's June, okay? It's mini camp and it's June. Imagine every pick by Joe Flacco, who I assume will be the starter. And yes, Shedeur Sanders will and should take his job. Is Deion Sanders going to weigh in on that? Deion says, when you sit up there and say something like he went into a meeting unprepared, like, dude, Shedeur Sanders, who has had 6 different coordinators, who has still functioned and leveled up every time we brought somebody new in. And you're going to tell me he was unprepared. You're going to tell me he had on headphones? Anybody who knows my son understands he's a professional. He's going to go into a meeting with headphones on? Y'all, come on now. It does hurt. There was some foolish stuff that went on, but you know, that gave them something they needed. I like that edge that Tom Brady had. It gave him an edge. It gave him an edge that I had. Wait, stop there. Coming out of college, Deion Sanders was considered one of the best prospects of all time. He went on to be one of the best NFL players, period, of all time. Arguably, one of the best athletes to ever, not arguably, one of the best athletes to ever play the sport. He wasn't Tom Brady coming out of Florida State. Tom Brady was a skinny kid who couldn't run. Deion Sanders is going to now try to tell us that he was some under-the-radar prospect? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? He's been a superstar since he stepped onto a college campus. Tom Brady was an unknown. See, this is what I'm saying. It's June, and look what's happening. Now you're going to say, well, the reporters ask him. Well, he went on the podcast and said this. Well, of course, reporters are going to ask him because he's going to talk. You know what I bet? I bet he never says, hey, I love my kid. I'm going to watch him every week. Wish him the best. Next question, please. No, it's not what he's doing, and you know it. And it's June in minicamp. So he goes on and on about this. He goes, you got to prove him wrong. That gave those guys the edge they needed. So is he saying that Shedeur Sanders is pissed because he's a fifth round? Sure. Okay. Is there something to that whole Brady thing that a nondescript player has an edge to him? Yeah, sure. Shedeur Sanders was not that, and Deion Sanders comparing him to that is laughable. Here's the thing, and this is, I do think, and I don't know how much stock to put into this. I don't know how much of this mattered. I suspect usually in the NFL, football stuff matters a lot more than anything else. Okay? But if I'm one of these loser franchises and I'm a brand new coach, which you're finding, teams that don't have a quarterback usually have a new coach, and the turnover is pretty high. It's certainly high in Cleveland. It's certainly high in New York and New Orleans and places like that where they typically are sorry teams. If you're not completely sold on Shedeur Sanders as a prospect, okay, and some people like the more athletic Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson types, others don't. He's not that guy. And then if you factor in the noise that is made, it matters. And then what I mentioned a few times, which I do think comes into play. If I'm a coach, a brand new coach in a lousy franchise, it won't take Deion Sanders to make a phone call to the owner and say, I can work with my kid better than that. I'm better than that. And you know what? The owner might believe him, and he might be right. He's a really good coach. So I wouldn't want it either. The guy is going to be, the noise he will make about Shedeur Sanders, either doing well or not doing well, is going to be deafening. Every Monday is going to be a conversation about what Deion Sanders said, why his kid did or didn't play. It's Little League dad with a megaphone. Oh, and by the way, it's a guy who probably could tell the owner, I'll take his job, and the owner would do it. So there's baggage there, and it's already started in a big way, in a really big way. And I don't blame Shedeur Sanders for anything. I think I don't know what to believe with these stories about pre-draft stuff. I don't think it really matters that much. But I do think dad's noise does matter a lot. And I do think a nondescript new coach or a guy that hasn't been around long is going to be a little paranoid that at any moment Deion Sanders barks at me, barks about the way I handle his son, and wants my job, he might get it. And it's already started. Joe Flacco, the Browns are now must-watch because of all of this mix. And Joe Flacco is probably the perfect guy to handle it. He's been around long enough. He's in his lane enough. He'll roll with it. And Shedeur Sanders will be fine with it. I mean, he's been in the limelight since he was a kid. So none of this is too big. It's just that dad will not lay off. And it matters. His voice matters in football.